wabarakatuh, and a very good morning, everybody. I'm very pleased to see the room is almost full. I think this is really a very good sign and very good, and I was just speaking with Claire from British Council yesterday. It's 8 a.m. Will there be people in the room? Well, she had proven me wrong, so I'm really happy to see everybody here. I'm Camilla. I'm from the University of Malaya, and I'll be moderating this breakfast session. This session is actually led by the Ministry of Higher Education, Malaysia, and specifically the session is on student mobility experience, Malaysia Truly International. So we all understand that student mobility and internationalization, is very, very closely linked together, and I'm sure every one of us here in this room, feel that student mobility is a very, very important part of the university experience that we would like to give our students. And not all students are able to go abroad, but part of student mobility is also to receive international students from abroad. So it goes both ways. And if, our students are not all students get to go abroad, at least we are also able to give them the international experience by having international students come in on campus to give them that exposure to different kinds of cultures. So basically this breakfast session, this panel will have 4 speakers. But before I introduce the speakers to you, let me read to you the full synopsis of this session. The session will explore the challenges, opportunities, and efforts of internationalization, with emphasis on international students' mobility. In particular, the focus will be on student mobility from European countries to ASEAN. Speakers will deliberate on the need to design an appropriate and adequate international student mobility system to impact the local higher education system, as well as share their knowledge, experiences, and aspirations for a Malaysian internationalization blueprint that could support the global prominence shift number 8 of the Malaysian education blueprint, higher education. So basically what we will be listening to is to help us understand the motivations of students who come to Southeast Asia in general and Malaysia in particular, discuss the experience of students, challenges, and learning opportunities, identify the needs of students, and discuss the future of student mobility. So please allow me to take a few minutes to introduce the panel speakers. The first speaker is Associate Professor Dr. Yazrina Yahya. She is from the Faculty of Economics and Management, National University of Malaysia, or some of us may know it as University Kebangsaan Malaysia. She is currently the Director at the UKM Global International Relations Centre, National University of Malaysia. She researches, teaches, and publishes in the areas of information systems, service science, COM creation values, as well as in the IT higher education with special interest in Malaysia. She has also co-written a book titled Internationalization of Higher Education, Insights from Malaysian Higher Education Institutions, with her research partners based on the MySkill project funded by the ministry. She has also worked with partners from industries on IT projects with Asia Berhad, IBM Malaysia, IBM USEN Service Research Institute in the US. And that's Dr. Yazrina right at the very end over there. The second speaker is on my left, Mr. Jesse Frank Rafidi. Jesse is a recent graduate of the inaugural Asia School of Business MBA class of 2018. He has 10 years' experience in senior management roles within his family group of businesses and is currently Managing Director of Cementech, an Australian cement and concrete technology development firm So from Mr. Rafidi, we'll be listening to the student, from the student's perspective of being an international student in Malaysia. And Mr. Rafidi hails from Sydney, Australia. The third speaker is on my right, Professor Dr. Axel Hanger is the Dean of Studies, Faculty of Engineering, University of Duisburg-Essen. Okay, I did check ahead of time, from Germany. His research projects have been performed on different fields as test and simulation of digital circuits and system, data processing and computer networks, software engineering, multimedia, and computer-supported cooperative work. And mainly during the last few years, curriculum design and quality management in education. Within the frame of his professorship, he became active not only in research in technical fields, he also worked in the field of developing contributions to engineering education. This led to activities in different engineering societies, mainly in the field of curricular development, in electrical and computer engineering, ASIIN and AVI. ASIIN is the only German accreditation agency to specialize in accrediting degree programs from the fields of engineering, informatics, computer science, natural sciences, and mathematics. And Prof. Hanger had established one of the first international degree courses in the frame of funding by German Academic Exchange Service, DAAD, and federal government, BMBF. So basically the main partner universities in the scheme that Prof. Hanger had been involved in are located in Malaysia, namely University Kebangsaan Malaysia, or National University Malaysia, and Indonesia, Universitas Indonesia. And further partners come from other countries in Southeast Asia. So we will have a very interesting panel of speakers who will be speaking on mobility from the Malaysian side and having a real partner coming from Germany. Lastly, the Southeast Asian Ministers of Education Organization, or SEMIO, is a regional intergovernmental organization established in 1965 among governments of Southeast Asian countries to promote cooperation in education, science, and culture in the region. In 1965, the Ministers of Education of Southeast Asian countries agreed to establish the SEMIO in order to hasten the development of the region through regional cooperation. In order to achieve SEMIO's purpose and objectives of the SEMIO Council, the SEMIO Council established a secretariat and regional centers. And on my extreme left is the Center Director of SEMIO Regional Center for Higher Education and Development, RIHED, Dr. Chantavit Sujatano. So there you have it, a brief introduction of all the four speakers in the panel this morning. So I will go on to invite Dr. Yazrina to the podium to give us her version.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning. Now, I'm going to be speaking about student mobility experience. Malaysia truly international, but why Malaysia? Now, I'm going to set the pace on what Malaysia's higher education in terms of internationalization is all about. So as you know, I think early in the first day, that there are details about Malaysian higher education landscape that has been given to you. There are about 20 public universities, I think some of you may have known, 497 private institutions altogether, and there's 79,016 academics. Now, from the public universities, privates, polytechnics, and also community college. Now, if you look at the global student mobility trends in Malaysia particularly, the growth will continue. All right, as we see later, the data shows that there's a lot of students who comes in and there's a quite number of students who goes out as well. But leading destinations are losing their shares, all right? Meaning that nowadays, when you see a lot of the Malaysian students, most of them will go outbound mobility, not towards very far, right, due to some reasons. And a lot of them are actually focusing very much on the ASEAN region or Asia region. But the middle class are driving the growth. And of course, the regional student mobility are also taking place. Now, when we talk about mobility, it's not necessarily that the students go abroad. All right, the students can actually do their regional in ASEAN, all right, or in Asia, not Asia particularly, in ASEAN, but also in Malaysia particularly. All right, we are promoting the students to do their own mobility to different universities, public universities in Malaysia. All right. Now, there are also changing trends of student mobility. All right, so if you see, there are an increment of Australian students coming to Malaysia. Part of it because of the NCP, right? The Colombo plan, the new Colombo plan, where you see a lot of the Australian universities are working hand in hand with the Malaysian universities to do summer mobility program or to do a semester exchange. So these are the kind of programs that allows the Australian students to come. And of course, for the United States students who comes are mostly the high school students who pay the visit, right? And also to some summer programs at the private universities. Now, if you see, there's a changing trends of student mobility where you could see there's a minor decline on outbound mobility for Malaysian students, all right? But there's an inbound mobility high growth, all right? Why does that happen? Partly, I will explain to you why Malaysia is truly why we get people to come into Malaysia, all right? Now, there's decreasing trends of outbound Southeast Asia student mobility, right? But there's an increasing trend of inbound Southeast Asia mobility to Malaysia. Now, part of it, you know, ASEAN, there's 10 countries altogether, all right? And in these 10 ASEAN countries, we've got a lot of associations. We've got Denmark by Simeo Raihet, which is AIMS, all right? We've got ASEAN University Network, we've got SHARE, and then we also have UMAP. These are all very much focused in ASEAN and Asia. And through these particular associations, we get them to move the universities to promote the mobility of the students. So a lot of the students are actually gearing to go to each different parts of the ASEAN countries, right? And that is also indicating influence of local and regional capacity, in which that in Malaysia particularly, I've got my boss here, which is the head of International Directors Committee, all right? As I stated earlier, there are 20 public universities in Malaysia altogether, right? And all these 20 public universities has International Relations Center, right? And each of the centers has its own director. So we built a committee in which, you know, we have meetings, how to promote mobility, how to push the drive of internationalization in each university. So, for new universities, this is when it is very important. When they come in, they will see their seniors, all right, the dinosaurs universities, how they do their internationalization, and they picked up, right? So this is the drive and the force that I would say that influence, all right, the local and regional capacity in promoting student mobility. Now, the top 10 sending countries in 2017, all right, most of these countries are actually the countries where the students comes to Malaysia, right? If you see, there's a lot of Bangladesh students. Now, why do they choose Malaysia? So if you see, we don't get students particularly from Europe or from the United States. These are full-time postgraduate, most of them, students, right? Now, there must be a certain attraction why they come to Malaysia, right? Now, if you see, there's Bangladesh, China, Nigeria, Indonesia, Yemen, Pakistan, Libya, Iraq, Sudan, and Iran. Now, most of these are, as I said, either master's or PhD students. So here I come. Why Malaysia? Okay? One of it is quality education, all right, value for money. So if you look at the rankings of the universities, is moving where we said in the few sessions earlier, a few days before, that the ministry is pushing to be the top 100 in the QS ranking. And a lot of the other universities are ranked very well as well, between the 200, 300, and also the subjects ranked So this is where each university has its own strength. UM is very strong in their information library, information science, and then some are very strong in their engineering, multimedia, communication, and all that, right? So there is that quality education that drives through, that promotes where people want to come. And it's value for money. You've been here for a few days in Malaysia, right? You would have seen, okay, how much does it cost? If you're from Europe, if you have lunch, it's only like €1. You can get 5 ringgit, which is relatively cheap. So this is what, well, probably for the Europeans. My European students who comes wouldn't want to stay in campus. They stay in Kuala Lumpur because to them, they can afford it, all right? So that's value for money for them. So that comes to the cost. And of course, cultural comforts. You see here, people are very, very friendly, all right? We are very adaptive. We are very acceptable to, you know, different culture. And the language of instruction, all right? As much as we use our national language, which is Bahasa Malaysia, and the Chinese speaks Chinese, the Indian speaks Tamil, right? But most of us are very fluent in using English language, right? So the language of instruction makes it a lot easier for people to be adaptable when they come to Malaysia. And the quality of life that they have. Yeah, Kuala Lumpur is a city you can get you can get into bad traffic, especially on Friday. But at the end of the day, you know, you come here to KLCC, you see there's a park, there's a green park there. If you go to Putrajaya in this afternoon, you will see there's even much greener space, all right, places and parks, which is really, really beautiful. So that's the nature landscape. Now, a lot of the students who comes from abroad wanted to see that natural landscape. Parts of Malaysia are really, really beautiful. If you go to some, I'm not promoting Malaysia here, but that's one of the reasons, all right? That's one of the reasons why the students come, right? Yeah, because you see, when you come from areas like UK, when the weather is very, very cold, you know, it rains all the time, most of the time, and when the summer can get very hot, summer is really beautiful there, yeah, but you see the different parts of, when you go to Sabah, for instance, right, you see the natural resources, the sea, what do you call it? You do the snorkeling, the scuba diving. It's really beautiful, right? So the students, you know, they know what is it that they want, that kind of lifestyle when they get to come to this ASEAN part of the country. And it's the heart of Asia, all right? There's a lot of cheap flights. So a lot of my students, you know, when they come here to Malaysia, what they do is that during weekends, they're not in Malaysia. They will be flying either to Hong Kong, to Thailand, to Singapore, to Philippines. They take that opportunity. But because that's what we told them, you know, when you want to become global citizens, you need to immerse. And ASEAN is like one particular big organizations, right? So they need to learn about the ASEAN culture. So with all these particular facts, that's why people are actually choosing, you know, to come to Malaysia or even to come to ASEAN particularly, right, for the quality education and of course for all the other reasons. Now, the students who comes to Malaysia, if you see here, there's huge number. Well, part of it, the Higher Education Ministry in Malaysia is trying with the blueprint that you received on your first day in your bag. All right, we have the strategic plan where we wanted to choose the global prominence number 8. We want to promote that. So we're pushing to the number of the students, international students coming in. So at the moment, we are achieving about 136,293. We want to hit soon about 200 to 250,000 if possible. Now, basically from 163 countries. Now, the efforts to enhance student mobility is not only being pushed by the ministry via the blueprint, but is also geared by the universities itself, private or public or any other institutions. MOHI, Ministry of Higher Education, is currently planning to do a Malaysia summer program, all right, which they wanted to work with the local universities, trying to attract more students to come to Malaysia for summer. Our collaborations with our UK partners, all right, we have our TNE. A lot of the UK campus are here based in Malaysia, right? And then we have Malaysia Pavilion at International Education Conference, not only here in Going Global, but we have it in EAIE, in Alpai. And for those All right, for those of you who may have not known yet, next year we'll be hosting APAI. So please come again back to Malaysia, right? And then we have Malaysian Education Promotion Exhibition, which is EMGS, where they recruit students. They go to places abroad to attract the students to come in. And of course, then there's Education Malaysia worldwide efforts. We have, the ministry has the Education Malaysia office everywhere, in certain places, strategic places, to interact with the local people in the countries like UK, Australia, US, China, where else? I think in ASEAN, in Indonesia, to make sure there are promotions about Malaysia. And of course, at the end of the day, is a unique Malaysia summer program that all of us has. So with that, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yasrina, for this for a wonderful start to this panel session. So we heard her not promoting Malaysia, but she did a little bit of promoting the ASEAN region. Yeah, so we did hear about how internationalization is structured or organized in Malaysia by the Ministry of Higher Education, as well as the strategic alignment of all the global officers from the different public universities especially. But you heard her mention also about EMGS, and the promotions is not just among public universities, but also the private universities as well. So we go on to the next speaker, Professor Axel Hunger, where there will be more interesting information and presentation on the collaboration that has taken place and is currently still taking place.
So, welcome for this early morning time. Thank you for coming. And yep. So, this is my presentation on a cooperation with UKM, and I try to highlight what are the good things we experienced, what are the things we always have to work on, and that is an experience Germany, Malaysia. So not UK, not Australia. We are a kind of an aliens in Malaysia, but you will see it works. So first, what are the partners? What are the campus locations? Of course, UKM, you more or less know, that's the main entrance on top, and below that is where our office is. I will talk about a German office in Malaysia, that is Faculty of Engineering. Then my home university, Duisburg-Essen. It's a merger of two former universities, one in the city of Duisburg, one in the city of Essen. And we have not one campus with a fence around and a gate to enter, many different locations. So, but how can we have a mobility between these locations? 10,000 kilometers of distance. Emails, can forget. Even WhatsApp and so is not a solution. So what else? I will focus on our solution, on our way and the achievements. First, let me introduce a bit about UKM and UDE. So both, we are public universities. We similar in age, in the 40 plus. We have similar number of students, okay, a bit of a difference, but in the sense we are comprehensive. The cooperation is mainly between the faculties of engineering, which has similar structure departments, always differences, but similar. But still, there are these 10,000 kilometer distances, which made us a lot of trouble, in the beginning at least. So the partnership did start in year 2000, and very soon, that is a key point, that became a partnership on eye level. We knew that we have different quality assurance systems, We knew that in Germany all the structures look all the same, but in Germany it's more from bottom up, in Malaysia more from top down. But okay, structures at the end are similar, and we agreed upon we have different details, but at the end of the day we have the same goals: to educate engineers well equipped for the future, and that was a point from the very beginning. So what did we face on challenges? I mentioned already the distance, of course, educational systems. If you take a closer look, there are differences. You follow the Anglo-Saxon system. We have our own thinking in Germany. Freedom is our keyword, but freedom is very difficult to manage because it needs self-responsibility. And when you are used that you are guided through everything, then freedom becomes simply dangerous. And cultural differences, also a challenge, how to not to go into the pitfalls of the cultural thing. Ups and downs. We had a lot of downs, but then we try to go on and improve. We have no common history like you have with the British Council and Britain. But also we have opportunities. Malaysia has a very high standing. OECD puts it, a bit below Singapore, but much on top on the other Southeast Asian countries by the economy values. And Malaysia is really well developed, well organized and safe for our German students. Some people can say it's Asia for beginners. It has a strong impact on new influences, but it's not dangerous like some other countries. Malaysia and Germany don't have a common history, but very good business relations. Malaysia is, I think, number 4 from the Asian countries for the German economy. So the relation does exist. And of course, Malaysia is a hub for at least ASEAN countries. Our German students, they go around like nothing. But the distance does exist, and that was a demand in a presence in the host country. So very soon, in year 2000, we decided we cannot go on like that unless we have an office, a physical presence at UKM. So what are our joint educational offers? We do ISE, which is International Studies in Engineering. That is what I have in Duisburg, 2,600 international students. But on top, we have double degrees, exchange programs, and even PhD. And together with UKM, we operate joint degrees in bachelor, master, and PhD. So on the full range of a research university, important to mention, and our university. So we do the intakes in Germany and Malaysia. We train the students for the global labor market, and we have a bidirectional study programs, bachelor to PhD. So this is our presence. This is in the new administrative building of the Faculty of Engineering UKM. Here the doors shows clearly UKM left, then comes the logo of University Duisburg-Essen, and then to the right, Mercator office. That is our physical presence. And we do a lot of service to incoming student and outgoing student from UKM to Germany and from Germany to UKM. And now these are the people helping. I did have a lot of money in the beginning in year 2000 from some Yaya-san in Germany, but then the money was gone. So now we had to say, close down or what? No, we continued. We take some revenue in Southeast Asia, we pay the people, and I can pay only local staff, Sorry, that's cheaper than the Germans, but it's better than the Germans because they are swimming here like a fish in the water. The Germans not. So here are some numbers. The double degree program is a bit of up and down. Why that? That is mainly UKM students to UDE. That becomes of differences with Mara, with the economy, with the money, with rumors and so on. We have to deal with these ups and downs, but I think we can go up during the next years. And these ups and downs, it's a pity, but at the end of the day, it is a success story. These are the German students coming into UKM, and here you see a much better increase, and now we are stable in the range of 30 to 40 students from Germany to UKM. That needed a lot of development, but then growing fast and steady now. What did we learn from that? The lessons learned are some. I mentioned the most important ones. First, we do need commitment on the academic side of both. Research university in Malaysia, also in Germany, we don't call it like that, but we are also research university and we are committed. We have an eye-level cooperation, that's very important. We are not a 3+0 or 1+2 program, no, we are same. And we need ample time to learn and develop the partnership. If we don't take time, years, 15 years by now, it will not work. Oh, sorry, typed the wrong. The ups and downs, that is life. We have to accept, but on the average, we go up. We can no other say we are going up. And the major challenge of a partnership is success. You may say, why? Success is by number of students. And if the number is increasing, we have to bring in more stuff. And we even have a database, web-based database. So in Germany, we key in all the data of the students. When they land in KLIA, UKM office takes over with the database and we can handle this. Consequences. Consequences, to be attractive in a mobility program, we have to offer not just a particular thing, we offer bachelor to PhD. We can build up careers of individuals and we can offer things which are needed. The unity of teaching and research, that's a very old and very good German principle. We do that also with UKM. Cultural awareness is one of the most important things. Thermodynamics, we can teach all around the world, same way. But the culture, we stress this fact. What makes a good mobility program? We need close operation. The outpost is our way. And we need quality assurance. And it's a matter of long breath. If you don't take a long breath, you will fail. Or you will be disappointed too early. And around the corner would be success, but you give up. No, better not. So that is already a goodbye overhead here. Also a kind of summary. That is the Faculty of Engineering at UKM. And the black on top is the Dean's office, and our outpost is just one level below. We are located in an office room which was meant for a head of department. So that is our value, like UKM takes us. Then we have linked Malaysia and Germany with the ministries. That's a meeting with the German Federal Ministry of Education and Research and UKM, the VC, and now the new deputy VC. And of course, what counts at the end are the students. And that is a group of German students which I brought in some years ago. So that is what I wanted to tell you, how Germany, the alien, can cooperate with Malaysia. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Professor Angga, for a very, very interesting presentation. So basically, you're not an alien anymore in Malaysia. But it does take resilience, doesn't it? Because relationship is not built overnight. And basically, the success you will probably see only after many, many years of working together and ensuring that the relationship actually thrives. And you will see successes, and maybe in 1 year and maybe the next year it may not happen, but then you still have to stick to it. And this message sometimes is a bit difficult to get across to the university management. It doesn't work out all the time. So it's for people who are not working in this line may not really understand, and they want to see the ROI immediately. So so as you can see, it doesn't necessarily happen immediately. It had taken 15 years of ups and downs, So we really appreciate your sharing of this experience. So next we have Mr. Jesse Rafidi. So let's listen to the student side of the experience.
Hi everyone, great to be here today. As was mentioned, I'm a recent graduate, an international student from an MBA program here in Kuala Lumpur. So I'm hoping to share with you some insights from the student perspective on and how we view Malaysia as a destination for higher education. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through a bit of a background on myself to give you like a student profile to see what kind of students are coming here. I'm then going to discuss a bit about my MBA program, and then a bit about my personal motivations for coming to study here in Malaysia. Then I'll discuss what my actual experience was in here in Malaysia, how it matched with my expectations. And lastly, I'll cover some challenges which my student body faced. I suppose they're key areas for potential improvement, which I personally believe would boost student mobility here in Malaysia. Okay, so a bit about me. I'm from Sydney, Australia. I have a bachelor degree from the University of Wollongong in commerce. I majored in supply chain management. My work experience is through my family business. We manufacture concrete products for the building materials industry in Australia. And yeah, just recently, 2 years ago, I received a scholarship to come and study at the Asia School of Business, which is a collaboration between Bank Negara and MIT Sloan from the US. Okay, so a bit about my program. It's a 20-month full-time residential program here in KL. It's largely taught by MIT faculty who fly out for 1-week blocks to teach our classes. We also have ASB resident faculty. One of the more unique things about the program is the action learning element. So every semester we have a compulsory action learning project where we're immersed in a company located somewhere in Southeast Asia or around the world, and we're working with the company on a key problem which they're currently facing. Another unique thing is the 6-week US trek, where 4 of those weeks are actually spent studying at MIT in Boston itself. If you can take a look at the graph, this is from my class. We had 47 students, and it just illustrates how diverse the class was and how well represented it is internationally. So we had 16 Malaysian students, locals, 7 from India, Philippines, South Africa, 2 from Mexico, 10 from America, 2 from Nigeria, 3 from Russia, Brazil, Pakistan, Cote d'Ivoire, and 2 Australians, including myself. Okay, so why did I decide to come and study here in Malaysia? The first thing on my priority list was that I wanted a world-class education, and I was convinced on that point, I suppose, by the strength of the MIT faculty who I knew would be teaching us. Second, it was my view at the time that you learn as much from your classmates as you do from the faculty, so I wanted a high caliber class from all over the world. I wanted to learn with top students from the rest of the world, and I was convinced on that point about attending my school because I learned that their admissions criteria was equivalent to MIT's. The third one, which is unique to why I selected Malaysia, is I wanted growth opportunities after finishing my MBA. So I was of the view that, you know, the opportunities are more in the developing nations, such as Asia, as opposed to if I went to school in the US or Europe or even Australia. And so I wanted to capitalize on that, I suppose. Next, networking opportunities. I wanted to be able to develop a strong network so that I'd be able to leverage the growth opportunities in the region. And lastly, family safety. I mean, I have a young family. I've got 3 daughters. They're all under 3 years old. My youngest daughter, she was actually born in KL while I was studying. So I wanted a nice, safe, happy environment for them to be while I completed my studies. So how was my actual experience? I believe I did get a world-class education. I feel as though I'm walking away from this experience with many more skills and knowledge than I had anticipated. I have developed a very strong local network with people at all levels who have been tremendously helpful in all my endeavours in Malaysia throughout this period. I completed 5 action learning projects throughout Southeast Asia. 2 were with ACM Boeing in Kedah, where we worked on developing a system for them to strategically select cost reduction initiatives. I did a project with Astro in Malaysia, who's the main broadcaster here. We tried to forecast a 5-year projection of video consumption behavior of Malaysians so that Astro would be able to develop a strategy around how video behavior is going to change over the next 5 years. I did a project with Big C in Thailand. They're one of the main shopping retailers, where we developed a hub and spoke distribution strategy for them to meet their growth. And I also did a project with Aris, who is a local social enterprise, and they're in the education space. They're trying to implement project-based learning in the public school sector. So we helped them develop a pitch so that they can raise money to fund the expansion into public schools. Obviously, I experienced a tremendous amount of student diversity from my class. You know, I feel as though during this 20-month period, I've basically learned about the whole world through my classmates, and that's obviously invaluable. I worked on an entrepreneurship project while I was studying. So we're looking to build a manufacturing facility here in Malaysia to produce concrete products using Australian technology, and we're going to supply the local market and export as well. And I mean, obviously, I feel as though we're having a lot of success there. I wouldn't have been able to do that without the network that I developed, the local network. And I wouldn't have developed the local network if I'd never decided to come and study here in Malaysia. And lastly, my family and I, we've been exposed to the amazing Malaysian culture. It's, as was said, the people here are very friendly. And we've learned about a country which we knew very little about before. And we like it so much that I'm hopefully planning to stay here for the foreseeable future. Okay, so here's some key, I suppose, challenges which, so some that I faced, but some that my student body faced, and what I understand of the key areas where I believe if we improve, or if Malaysia is able to improve on these key areas, it would boost student mobility to the region. So the first 2 have to do with immigration and visa policies. So unlike the US, where if you study there, you have a 6-month to a year period to basically figure out what you want to do. In Malaysia, our visas were limited to the duration of our course. And so a lot of my classmates, they fell in love with the region, wanted to get jobs here and add value, but they didn't really have much time to do a thorough job search and find a willing employer to give them a work permit. So I just feel that if, they were given 6 months more, perhaps a lot more of my classmates would have stayed here. The next issue is to do with student entrepreneurs. So a lot of my classmates were working on interesting projects for startups in Malaysia. They thought they found a market opportunity or a market problem which they could solve. But one of the issues is that in order for them to actually have a startup and be able to get a work permit through the startup, the new business requires a minimum of 1 million ringgit paid up capital, which obviously you can imagine it's difficult for an early stage startup, but it's even more difficult for a student. And even if they find the million ringgit, it's a 9-month period before the permit comes through. So I guess a lot of the traction that the startup might have had might dissipate if they have to be out of the country for 9 months. There is an opportunity through MDEC which simplifies that process. That's Malaysian Digital Economy, but that's specifically for digital startups, so it doesn't cover all businesses. The third one is, so a key element of a typical top MBA program is the MBA summer internship, where students, they spend 3 months working with a physical company, and typically the salaries that they earn during that period are usually in line with what they're expected to get post graduation. But what we discovered here is that mindset isn't necessarily, doesn't exist here in Malaysia, really. When the companies understand that it's an intern, they're probably thinking of a bachelor degree student, and they're really not inclined to pay much, if anything at all, for that internship opportunity. And, you know, typically the internship, what the student earns during the internship, he or she uses that to offset the cost of the MBA program, and it's usually a pretty big decision-making factor. So I'm just worried that if international students had 2 options, one where they know they can get a substantial amount of money versus one where they don't, they might opt for the other. And lastly, it's salary expectations in general. So what some of my classmates discovered is that perhaps the MBA salaries in the region post-graduation aren't necessarily in line with where other top schools are located, such as Singapore, Hong Kong, or the US. But they understand that the cost of living is obviously lower in Malaysia, and that is attractive. But some of my classmates are looking at what their global purchasing power is going to be, or what their global, what their salary is going to get them back in their home countries. So it's just also something to think about. But other than these 4 points, I mean, personally, I can't speak highly enough of my experience here in Malaysia, and if had the opportunity, I'd definitely do it all over again. And yeah, I'm looking to create greater ties with Malaysia and the greater region in the near future. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you very much, Jesse. I think that was very interesting and useful input for us as Malaysians. You know, I'm not sure what we can do about it, but then the challenges faced, you know, are real challenges, and if we are serious in wanting to retain some of the expertise that we ourselves have trained, I think there's some of the points raised perhaps deserve to be looked into. So next, we will go on to the final speaker, Dr. Chantavit, and we will open for Q&A after the final speaker.
Can I have my PowerPoint, please? Thank you. Yes. I'm not blocking your screen, right? Not tall enough like the other 2 gentlemen panelists this morning. My organization is a regional organization, so I cannot promote Malaysia only. I have to talk about the region. However, the statistic probably will say something about Malaysia. Actually, Samira was established as an independent organization by itself with 5 member countries in 1959. So that was almost 60 years ago, before we decided to join Samira in 1993 to fit in the pieces on higher education, which was not really existing in Samira at that time. Our work is like a mediator. We sort of link the government to the university and vice versa. So we are like a matchmaker of some sort, and at the same time also servicing government body responsible for higher education. So you will see the blue blocks, which are the government part from 11 Southeast Asian nations. And you have the orange one, which are the universities. And we sort of work in the middle, the green blocks, to cement both so that they can move together smoothly and more impact on the development issue. Our scope of the Simeo Right, actually the main focus is on harmonization of higher education in Southeast Asia. As we are Southeast Asian organization, so we put importance on the 11 member countries in Southeast Asia. However, doesn't mean that we limited ourselves only to such a scope. We work with other partners and stakeholders as well all over the world. So we partner up with the European organization, with East Asia, with the US, and activities that we've been doing. So in order to arrive or maybe to achieve certain degree of harmonization of higher education system in the region, our activities will cover any dimension of higher education that we can align and help develop, or we can bring cooperation and synergy among higher education dimension in the region together. And also, of course, for higher education, research is one of the most important elements to bring about new knowledge and new innovation. As a backbone of everything of this synergy and cooperation, the formal information portal serves as a very important backbone or foundation for us to understand each other more and to be able to record what has been done by member countries. So the statistic will speak for itself. You will see that in Southeast Asia, we place high importance for education, and particularly higher education. It's like a stepping stone for the young people to move up to a good progressive career. So many well-to-do families will send their children abroad to study abroad. So you will see the figure of outbound mobility is quite high, higher than the inbound. This is a statistic collected by UNESCO in 2011. So this alarms us as a regional body a bit. We are sending out a lot of young people overseas, but nobody come to our region. So what can we do? Before we attract students from other part of the world, maybe we start to realize the importance of studying within our own region, among our own people first. So that's why Samira had started a student mobility program in 2010. From this figure statistic, you will see that only 2 countries that have the inbound mobility rate higher than their outbound rate. Singapore, obviously, everybody knows that, extremely high. But Malaysia is really tailing close in very soon, soaring upward. As the blueprint of Malaysia says very clearly, I really love higher education blueprint developed by Malaysian government. It's very clear, very concrete, and it's achievable. And most importantly, the support of the government. I'm promoting Malaysia now. I'm not supposed to. Sorry. So we started AIMS program, which is ASEAN International Mobility of Students. It was launched in 2010. Only 3 countries were ready to do it because we want this scheme to be balanced mobility, in and out exactly the same. But later on we learned that exactly is not really the word. A bit flexibility can be allowed. So maybe not the same figure in and out, but almost the same. At the beginning, it was set for 50 students from each of the 3 countries to be outbound to another 2. So 25 to each, and that has been ongoing for like couple years before we have other countries decided to join. But with this balanced mobility, we have to be a bit structured to be able to sustain the program. So it has to be self-sufficient. We are not waiting for aids or scholarship from any other country. We do it ourselves. We have that kind of ASEAN community spirit to do things together. So each government come up with budget to support selected university, selected field of studies to exchange students. And it's been ongoing since 2010 up to now. And the country from 3, you will see MIT up there on your left corner. MIT stands for Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand, the founding members of AIMS. And now we have 8 countries. Singapore decided to join us too, finally, this year. So we will have 9 countries, and hopefully we can help facilitate to get the CLM, Cambodia, Laos, and Myanmar to join in the near future. We do have supporting mechanism to make these activities going, a steering committee to decide on the infrastructure, the exact criteria agreement among the university participating, among the countries participating as well. And every year we have an annual review meeting where all the university come together. So this past years, this year is the 8 years, getting to be 9 years. Next year we will be celebrating a decade of student mobility, which we hope to engage a number of networks to join us, like UMAP mentioned by Professor Selina earlier on, maybe Erasmus Plus, maybe tuning program to maybe share experience with us for our 10-year celebration. So at a glance, we accumulated student exchange so far up to last year, 3,374. But for 2017, on your right side alone, you will see how balanced the mobility is going on among all the countries. So we will have Singapore added this year, and hopefully the other 3 will join, so we will have complete Southeast Asian nations plus Japan and Korea. So these are the 10 study fields that on your left corner you will see the 10 study fields overarching, with Samira head coordinating the 8 countries at the moment. We hope that it will spin off into university consortium, in each study field. So anticipating maybe 10 university consortium in the future, and hopefully to strengthen faculty research as well as staff mobility in the process. The key opportunity for academic mobility bringing student to the student and university. Our previous speaker already mentioned about that, about the list here, so I will not go over in details considering the time available for each presentation. I will just have 2 more slides to go. The future of student mobility under AIMS is that we will be expanding to cover 3 more countries so that we will have a complete like ASEAN community student mobility scheme. And also we are developing evaluation instrument for measuring experience of students who go through the exchange program, which is supported by the Korean Ministry of Education. However, the future of student mobility, academic mobility, we hope that this will increase connectivity, people to people, institution to institution, government to government, cultural-wise, social-wise, all dimension, especially mobilizing the connectivity through new delivery approach of higher education through the e-learning process, which you will be experiencing more and more nowadays, whether it's be MOOCs, online, e-learning, or you can just go to the open sources through Google or YouTube or other search engine that you may think you come across. And I think lastly, I want to say that for Southeast Asia to attract students from other continents, I think there is many strong points already mentioned earlier on, because Southeast Asia is quite connected, and with the low-cost airline, with the ICT, with the communication technology, it's so easy to move around. And when a student come to Malaysia, maybe they want to also go to other surrounding neighboring countries as well. Or when they come to Thailand, they might want to also spend some time in Malaysia. So maybe it's good time for our universities to start thinking about aligning with other university in other country, so that student exchange can be facilitated. Not just only come to one university in one country, but maybe opportunity, just like Erasmus was trying to do, a scholarship to Europe require that you have to take courses in at least no less than 2 countries or 3, So this is something that maybe can be developed for Southeast Asia, and that would be a great strength to really draw inbound students in the sense that we would like to see happen. So not thinking singly on your very own institution, but if you think together and work together and do it together, it's a great success will be achieved. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chantabit. So we have heard how strategic alignment of activities for internationalization is done not only locally at the university level, but also at the country level through governments, for instance in Malaysia, through the Ministry of Higher Education Malaysia, but also at the regional level, at the ASEAN level, for example, through the Simeo Raihat. So true to the nature of ASEAN as an ASEAN community, we would like to see that students move seamlessly among the different countries, not just among the students coming from ASEAN themselves, but also from Europe, for instance. As you heard earlier, students coming from Germany, they can very easily come to Malaysia, but they will also, the other countries in Malaysia are also within very, very easy reach. Now, we have a few minutes left. We're supposed to end at 9:15, but I would like to spend some time for us to perhaps open to the floor for Q&A. Please, before you begin, please introduce yourself and the institution that you come from and who you might be directing your question to. Yes, we have a gentleman over there.
It is very interesting to see.
Can you introduce yourself and the institution you come from?
Rector of University of Myanmar. It is very interesting to see the talk and the statistics of the number of inborn students and outborn students in ASEAN countries. So I have seen that the inbound students to Myanmar shows 0.0%. I think it may be the cutoff point at 1 decimal place, 0.0. Because I'm from Yangon University. Last year, University of Yangon received the inbound students from Cambodia. 1 inbound student from Cambodia. Thank you very much.
It is a start, right? Yes. Please, Professor Han.
Trying to increase the number of inbound students to our university.
Right. Thank you. I think Professor Hanger might want to respond. Yes?
Yeah, okay. I am in contact with UIT in Yangon, and 2 or 3 years ago I was in Myanmar together with the Dean of Faculty of Engineering UKM, and both of us really did enjoy, and we believe that Myanmar is a good country. And also we thought maybe the people have not enough money to go to Germany, but why not link? UKM is close, Malaysia is close. So if you want, we have open doors for Myanmar.
Can I answer to that? Now, I think it's because Dr. Chantavik's statistic is under AIMS, right? But there are also other efforts given by other associations, which is SHARE. EU SHARE is one particular platform which is fully funded by the European Union, right? Which promotes the regional mobility between the ASEAN countries. Only up until last year that they started to send the ASEAN students to Europe. Now, via that particular platform, the students are able to apply for mobility to specific universities chosen by SHARE to be on the platform, right? And there are statistics of Myanmar students, because I knew there are Myanmar students who comes to UKM, and also not UKM students, but other university students, Malaysia students, or from other ASEAN countries that goes to Myanmar. So,
Yeah, and UKM and UDE are both core universities in SHARE, so we are open.
That's good to know. Yeah. So, please, gentleman at the back.
Thank you. Dave, I work for the British Council on Mobility Programmes. It's a question prompted by Professor Hunger's presentation, but I think others may have some comment on it. I wondered, given the length of time of the cooperation that you've had, if you've been able to track the outcomes for your students of being involved in the mobility with Malaysia in terms of career progression and so on, and how that compares with students who might not have been involved. And if you can tell us anything about that.
Yeah, I can tell you something about the outcomes from the first 100 double degree students which came from Malaysia to Germany. Not a single one failed. They all made it. And in Germany, we have really tough exams. Many students exchange, they have problems. So the idea is that they are strongly selected by the national entrance exam in Malaysia, and before they come to Germany, again selection. Also, we have a good result from companies. Companies are hiring our double degree graduates in Malaysia faster and with a better salary. also the Germans coming back. 99% of them are so happy. And even one of them was in Malaysia for the bachelor only. He said, I will do master. That is tradition in Germany. But later he came to me and said, oh, sorry, I have to say goodbye after bachelor. Some company gave me such a good offer because I was abroad with you that I have to go to the company. So the response by industry is very well, and also the high rate of good graduates. But one thing I forgot to mention, Germany has no tuition fee. So what we did, one of our obstacles, we are money free. So it has to run by quality and not by payment.
Very interesting. I wonder if anyone else might want to respond. But I would say that one of the objectives in having double degree programs at perhaps at the postgraduate level, if I may, because when we have co-supervisors working together with a particular candidate, to me it forms a nucleus, and this nucleus is supposed to grow. So what we are discovering at the University of Malaya, and I'm sure it's the same for other universities as well, that has joint degree programs, after the student actually graduates with a PhD, the relationship doesn't stop there, because it will expand to other students and perhaps even other fields. And this is what we would like to happen. And this is the ideal situation as far as the relationship goes, where it is continuously expanded.
Can I answer to that?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Just in response to that, Prof. Hunga's slides did show about the increment number of Germany students who comes to Malaysia. Now, initially, it was very difficult to convince them. It's just like getting the Australians to come to Malaysia. Students, sometimes they are in their comfort zone, and they have certain specific countries that they want to go to. So for Germany, for instance, what we did as Prof. Hunga has an office, the Duisburg Essen has an office in UKM. We have a small office with a coordinator to promote particularly of the program and what are the things that would attract to the students to come to Malaysia. That takes years as well, but once you get the number, when they go back and when they talk about it, so that gets the increment. The same goes with our NCP program with the Australian. It started off with like about 8 students. Not many wanted to come, and some of them had to be pushed by their coordinators to make it a challenge. But after they've come back and they knew how the program is like and structured and how safe it is, how fun it is, the next year 12 of them came, and 3 of them actually paid on their own, not under the NCP program. So it requires a little bit of effort, I would say, from both sides, from both parties, both universities, to make sure that the mobility numbers increased.
Okay, thank you. I think we have time for just one last comment or question. Yes.
Very good morning. My name is Samira. I'm currently doing PhD in economics at the International Islamic University. Thank you. As previously, JC has highlighted the challenges of in his presentations. If I could add one of the challenge, talking on behalf of the international students here, the involvement of the international student in any research project in terms of the opportunity given by the local universities. Because regardless the student status, the PR students, or the student visas, international students, the opportunity that give to them, it's not that not that many, I think. So could you give any comments on that? Could probably go to Professor Camila and Professor Yazrina. Thank you.
Okay. I'm not sure if you're looking at the right person where you said Professor Camila. So I'm Professor Camila? You mean me?
Yeah, Malaysia.
Well, basically, I will turn to my colleagues who might be in the room here from the Ministry of Higher Education. But basically, international students are involved in research projects. If that is what you had been referring to. International students in universities, public and private, especially if they are graduate students, they would be expected to be involved in research projects. So that might not really be a general issue faced by international students. I don't know if my colleagues might have anything to say.
Okay, time's up. Right.
Okay.
I'll answer to that question when I see you personally.
Okay.
All right? Because the time
All
is
right.
up. Yeah.
So people are waving at the back. So no more questions, no more comments, because we really have to keep time. So before I end, I would like to thank all the panel speakers here. If you could join me in a round of applause. And I would also like to thank you for being here so early in the morning to be a part of this. I think before you leave the room, there's one more item to handle.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, dear participants, my name is Siti Noraina Azman on behalf of the Secretariat and Ministry of Higher Education. Please once again give a round of applause to our speakers and moderator today. Right. We do have a little token of appreciation to give to our speakers and moderator, and as a memento. With that, allow me to invite Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Dr. Nurul Aino Muhammad Noor, Secretary General Ministry of Higher Education Malaysia, to hand over the memento. Please welcome. Okay, let me call upon the first speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Yazrina Yahya, Director International Relations Center from University Kebangsaan Malaysia. Thank you, Professor. The second speaker, Professor Dr. Axel Hunger, Dean of Studies, Faculty of Engineering, University of Dresden-Essen, Germany. The third speaker, Mr. Jesse Frank Rafidi, MBA International student from Asia Business School. And we have our fourth speaker, Dr. Chantravid Sujatanon, Center Director, Human Regional Center for Higher Education and Development. Of course, our moderator, Professor Dr. Kamila Ghazali, Associate Vice Chancellor from University of Malaya. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, participants. Have a good day.